So all these Republicans that are pushing and backing Trump no matter what he says and does include Tom Cotton here. And after all these admissions and support for Putin and his invasion of Ukraine, Tom Cotton has to do some answering about whether or not he supports this president that continues to push these things. Let's watch his non-answer here.
Why can't you condemn Donald Trump for those comments?
George, if you want to know what Donald Trump thinks about Vladimir Putin or any other topic, I'd encourage you to invite him on your show. I don't speak on behalf of other politicians. They can speak for themselves. I speak on behalf of Arkansans who I talked to this week and who are appalled at what they saw in Ukraine. And they want me right now to fight in Washington to support those brave Ukrainians.
You're a senior member of the Republican Party. Donald Trump is the leader of the Republican Party. He said last night again, suggested that he would be running for president. When Fox News asked him if he had a message for Vladimir Putin, he said he has no message. Why can't you condemn that? I feel quite confident that if Barack Obama or Joe Biden said something like that, you'd be first in line to criticize him.
Again, George, if you want to talk to the former president about his views or his message, you can have him on your show. My message to Vladimir Putin is quite clear. He needs to leave Ukraine unless he wants to face moms and teenagers with Molotov cocktails and grandmothers and grandfathers with AK-47s for years to come. I'm speaking on behalf of all Arkansans who want me to send that message to him.
If Donald Trump runs again, can you support him?
George, I'm not worried about this fall's election right now, much less an election 2 years from now.
Former President Trump was out there talking about it last night. I simply don't understand why you can't condemn his praise of Vladimir Putin.
George, again, I don't speak on behalf of other politicians. They can all speak for themselves.
The reason Tom Cotton can't answer that question, George, is because he's a coward, and he can't answer that question because he's afraid of Donald Trump and his wrath. So, by the way, he said, I don't speak for other politicians. That's not speaking for other politicians. We're asking what you think about what other politicians actually said. Now, we do know he's capable of criticizing other politicians. That's what Stephanopoulos did point out there. As a matter of fact, whenever it's politically advantageous, he does. Let's watch.
This is that's wrong. Shameful. Judge, this is shameful. This testimony, your directive, your performance is shameful.
Okay, that's not.
Thank God you are not on the Supreme Court. You should resign in disgrace, Judge. It's your party that voted in lockstep for the First Step Act that let thousands of violent felons back on the street who have now committed innumerable violent crimes.
Not to mention he was completely wrong with that too, yes. So cowardice, fear of Trump, not sure if he's gonna fire back at you. I'm not sure what the motivation is outside of just trying to continue to stay in power and hope he goes away. But this is definitely not an illustration of courage.
No, and what's interesting, and we saw it a little bit with Marjorie Taylor Greene as well, is they are condemning what Putin is doing. So they're breaking from Trump in that respect, but they still won't go against Trump. And they still won't say, no, I want to condemn what he said. He's not even a politician anymore. He doesn't even hold any kind of public office. You really shouldn't have any kind of sway over the party anymore, especially as a twice impeached one-term president, right? He has this weird following that I think seems to be dwindling a little bit. I don't know how accurate of a statement that is. It's really a lot of perception on my part there. But I would think if I was a Republican, I would want to be distancing myself from Trump more now than maybe before. And I think especially with this whole Trump and Putin and Ukraine thing, it's even more advantageous to do so. You know, you're out there saying, no, I don't agree with what's happening in Ukraine. I don't agree with Putin, which is a clear break from Trump, from all 4 years of Trump's presidency, even leading up to Trump's presidency. So I don't know why they can't just like make that full break. And then another thing, people were criticizing Stephanopoulos for not pushing hard. He asked him like 4 or 5 times, you know, like, I don't know if I could have pushed any harder against that. You know, he simply wasn't going to answer the questions. So.
Yeah, and I think it became pretty clear that what his views were, and he was just too afraid to say it. As long as that's conveyed, you can only ask it so many times.
Yeah, I think his non-response is enough of a response.
It was pretty loud.